So the next piece of this is Sacramento.
Yeah.
I am not sure how much worse Sacramento is right now. Because here's the thing that I don't know that I think kind of gets lost in all of this. If I was to ask you, who do you think has better court vision? Between De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk?
Don't do this.
What would your answer be?
I love Malik Monk, and I think he's such an underrated passer. So
I think I think the way he is developed as a passer, I think De'Aaron's able to get like consistent paint touches in a way that Malik doesn't always get consistent paint touches, right? But
sure.
Purely as a passer and playmaker for others, and in terms of his vision, I actually think Malik is a bit better as a passer than Fox is, even though Fox is able to create more like opportunities because he's able to get downhill as quickly as possible. Does that make sense?
I think I would agree. I think De'Aaron creates more opportunities and maybe easier passing reads, which matters. Like this is part of it. I watch Kings games, and yes, I'm impressed with De'Aaron, but I come away more impressed with Malik's passing reads and vision. Like if we're talking exclusively that, listen, you won't find a bigger Malik Monk fan. So yeah. I don't, if Fox is better, it's not by as much as a lot of people may think if you haven't been watching Kings games the last year and a half.
So with that being said, now you just slide Malik to the point, and you now have Zach
nuclear score. Yeah. This is league pass top 5 team for me to watch. I am juiced to watch this team play. Malik and Zach LaVine in the backcourt together. Are you kidding me, Sam?
Who between Zach LaVine and De'Aaron Fox has had a better season this year, in your opinion?
Probably.
It's close.
I think De'Aaron still, but Zach's been crazy efficient.
I think it's De'Aaron because De'Aaron is a little bit better defensively.
Zach hasn't been bad though. Like he's been playing hard on that end, I feel like, this year.
I agree. But like there's just certain things like he is not successful at defensively, right?
I would agree.
Zach LaVine is shooting 51, 45, 80 right now, averaging 4.8 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 24 points per game. The thing with Zach is like, he is not a great passer, right? Like he's not like an incredible decision maker.
No, he's not. I want to say though, like, I don't think he's been selfish this year. Like, I think like I've watched a lot of games where he's just let the game come to him.
Totally.
And then when he needed to go nuclear, then he went nuclear. And if he made a couple shots, then you knew you were getting the heat check, but I'll live with that with a guy shooting those numbers. I didn't watch many games this year and go, man, that bad shot, taking his team out of the game. Like, I didn't see much of that from Zach LaVine this season in the games I watched.
Yeah. So I'm actually pretty good with the Malik Monk, Zach LaVine duo. Where I'm not wildly excited about this is the DeMar fit with LaVine again. Like I feel a little bit bad for Zach LaVine that this is happening again. Cause Zach like gets away from DeMar and has this incredible season again. That's not as exciting for me. But in terms of like offensive firepower, which is what San Antonio is like really based on, or not San Antonio, I'm sorry, what Sacramento is like really based this build around. I'm not where they have lost a little bit is certainly off the bench, right? But not like just because you're going to have to move Malik like fully into the starting lineup to like play real minutes with these guys. And like you're adjusting his role slightly. Right. So even though like you're doing a 1-for-1 with Fox and LaVine, like 1 in, 1 out, I would bet you that the change in role for Malik, where he has to probably focus a little bit more on being a distributor, probably makes this where their bench is a little bit worse. But in general, I don't know that they are all that. I don't know that this team is drastically worse than what they were before they made the De'Aaron Fox deal.
I mean,
and they have 2 additional first round picks now to play with, plus like all of the second round picks to be able to try and do.
Yeah, I mean, and they have Keon Ellis and Devin Carter waiting there to come in off the bench as well. So like you open up minutes, opportunities. Like you and I were both very high on Devin Carter. I'm a big Keon Ellis fan. Listen, I love DeMar DeRozan. I think he's a really good player. I would love for them to move DeMar DeRozan and then somehow like get a backup big and a wing defender so that Keegan Murray, like I hate watching Kings games and seeing Keegan such an afterthought on the offensive end in so many of them. If they could bring in a wing defender and let Keegan now become, I mean, he'd still almost just be the fourth option, but it'd be better than the fifth, I guess. But let him get back into what he was showing offensively, get some sort of backup big. I know Trey Lyles, like he's held his own there, but that would be, I didn't think DeMar made sense this offseason. I didn't love the fit and the idea. I still don't now. I would love for them to make that move. Trade DeMar for a defensive-minded wing. And I know it's easier said than done because nobody's just giving away 3-and-D wings, right? Like it doesn't make sense, but maybe there's somebody out there that would look to add that kind of scoring punch. They could give up even if it's a younger 3-and-D wing, bring that guy in, let Keegan take a bigger offensive role. And that would be really intriguing to me, and see how you could build it out and see if LaVine can stay healthy and Monk can grow even more in this primary initiator role and Keegan can get back to what he was doing. You have those two guys off the bench. I'm not saying it's like a real contender by any means, but it would be fun to watch and could be competitive.
Yeah, like I don't know that they're any different than they were.
Sure.
Previously at this point. Like they are probably a little bit worse on defense at the point of attack right now, but like I don't think they're drastically worse than where they were. Like I actually think that this is going to work out pretty well for the Kings, just depending upon what their next moves are. And I think that's, what the next thing is here. I'm intrigued to see if the Kings decide to push in for further like win now moves. Do you move DeMar DeRozan in a first for something? Do you try and like I think Bradley Beal would be a terrible idea on this team. So like I'm not even gonna put that into the world. But like, do you try and do like a Bruce Brown or something for DeMar and send like DeMar back to Toronto?
It doesn't move the needle a whole lot for me. I mean, it makes sense. Like, and I would want something else there.
Yeah. Like, do you do John Collins? DeMar for Collins?
That's not really what I was thinking in terms of a defender.
Collins has been good this year for what it's worth when he's been on the court. Not like an awesome defender or anything, but yeah. I'm just like not sure what the next step is here. I don't disagree with you that like moving DeMar is probably the right call for them. Trying to find like a 3-and-D style player would make the most sense. But yeah, I'm intrigued to find out what the next steps are here. And do they continue down this road, or do they not push all in? Do they just like kind of stay status quo with where they're at and say, okay, like let's see what kind of chemistry Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis have. Let's continue to build out the amazing chemistry that we already see with Malik Monk and Sabonis oftentimes, right? I don't know. They are now a really interesting team to me too, because they have additional assets to play with now. And also another thing here, by the way, got off of the Kevin Huerter deal here. Don't minimize that, because Kevin Huerter had been a catastrophe for them this year, unfortunately. I thought that was a deal that was really going to work out for Atlanta. And I actually liked Huerter the first year in Sacramento, but like it just has not worked. That is a real value add here for Sacramento, to be able to move off of the Huerter deal, put that into that big trade exception that the Bulls have, and then be able to like build without that on the books either.
Yeah, I think in totality, what they were able to do here, like you said, you get off that deal, you get you get a good player in Zach LaVine. I realized it's the contract and the injuries come with it. And while the draft asset return wasn't as good as what I thought initially, it could be used to go acquire something else, or like, can you draft well? Can you hit on one of those in some capacity along the way? Whether it's an early second round pick this year, like, can you get a rotation player there at the top of the second round? Again, if the Bulls tank, that one could be interesting all of a sudden in the 30s. So they have options. I think I'm very intrigued of a Monk, LaVine, Murray, Sabonis, those two guards off the bench. DeRozan is the one that doesn't make sense. And I know it sounds like I love DeRozan. I think he's a really good player, but I think he could be somewhere else and be more effective and make more sense. I would be intrigued by that. I would be intrigued. If there was one move, I'd say it would be moving DeRozan, and even if it took another asset to bring in younger 3-and-D wing forward-ish type players, and then seeing what that looked like and reevaluating this offseason from that. I would have the appetite to do that now, Sam, not wait until the offseason with DeRozan. I would.
I would too. I just don't know where he lands, I guess, is my issue. I would love to do it though. Yeah, I think that my take on this for the Kings is that I know Kings fans are probably pretty bummed right now. I think this is probably going to be fine. Like, I think that this deal is going to be totally okay for them. They're not going to like look back at this and be like, oh shit, like we just, tanked the next 4 years of our organization. Like a full scale, like it's not a rebuild move. It gets you additional assets moving forward. It's kind of a win across the board for them, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a Kings fan, probably the scariest thing is the LaVine contract, right? Is there's 2 years left on that. If you haven't watched the Bulls this year, it's real easy to not be excited about Zach LaVine at all.
Yeah.
If you haven't and you're a Kings fan watching this, I understand your injury worries. He has been good. And it's not just the numbers. Like, you watch a game and you're like, this dude is playing really well. He's playing within the offense. He's trying defensively. He's been very, very good. We mentioned him like potential all-star, right? Like he was in the conversation. He's in the top 20 of that conversation, if not even a little bit higher, probably top 18 or so. So it's the contract could go south real fast. That's the downside is he gets hurt again. That stuff comes back up and you're on the books for 46 and 49 million the next 2 years for a guy that's not playing half the games. That's the downside.
And just real quick on like the next thing, right? So did the Kings get the right picks here? Is like a real question from San Antonio. Like, I would have fought tooth and nail to get the Atlanta pick for this year.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one where I'm like,
the Jalen Johnson injury.
Yeah. Like with Jalen out, that's the pick I would have wanted right now, is absolutely the Atlanta pick for this year. Cause that's almost certainly going to be a lottery pick. They've lost 8 in a row. Like that's the one that I want.
So they're not getting a first round pick till 2027. That the first round pick we think they'll actually make will be the San Antonio 2027. And then it won't be another one till 2031. Yeah, that's a little tough.
That would have been my holdup if I was them.
Yeah.
I would have wanted the 2025 Atlanta pick. And that would have been my like, look, we're giving you guys fucking De'Aaron Fox. Like, we're getting that pick back kind of thing. If you're not giving us Steph Castle, we're getting that pick back. Because like the LaVine piece of it doesn't actually impact the amount that the Spurs give for Fox at the end of the day. Yeah. So I would have wanted that pick particularly, but by and large, like, I can't look at this deal and I don't think it's a win for the Kings or anything. I just don't think it's like a lot. Like, I think it's fine. I think it makes total sense. Like, it would be we'll talk about grades at the end maybe, because I think grading 3-team deals is a little bit more fun than grading like two team deals. Like, this is fine for me. Like, this works across the board for me.
Yeah, if they would have got that, you'd be really excited, right? Because like, especially if you get that one instead of even like, if you could get that instead of San Antonio's 2027, I would be juiced for them, right? Like that, the difference in those two picks is substantial based off where I think San Antonio will be in 2027. And I just wonder if you couldn't have convinced San Antonio, like, hey, don't you want to just control your own draft? Like, do you really want us to have that 2027 to potentially, change anything? So, that's a good point. That would have changed my view on the draft asset return here for the Kings.